1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports, episode number 35. And yes, it's finally here, the week of the Super Bowl, with the New England Patriots going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Wow, I think that's the first time I ever got the Los Angeles part right. Just got so used to calling them the St. Louis Rams. Busy weekend this coming weekend, though. Today's Thursday, we're recording. Saturday, I'll be live tweeting the Bare Knuckle Boxing 4, USA versus Mexico. They're down in Cancun. Gonna run through the fight card there. But if you want to interact with me during that and follow me on Twitter, you can follow my personal Twitter at Jimbo ST Sports, and you can also follow the show at ST Sports Podcast. And that's where I'll be live tweeting for the Bare Knuckle Boxing. I know UFC has their fight night Saturday night as well, but you know, to be honest, I'm kind of losing interest in UFC anymore with all the drama going on, you know, between John Jones and his pictograms of steroids and Khabib and Conor getting their suspension, which we'll be talking about a little bit. And it just seems like bare knuckle boxing is a little bit more exciting. I mean, they do have some UFC fighters there. I think this fight card has 3 of them off the top of my head that I know of fighting this weekend. Actually 4. I just remember about Beck Rollins fighting. She's defending her belt. That's my girlfriend. I love her. But to get right into it, you know, since I said about the UFC, this past week, the suspensions were handed down to Conor McGregor and I always get his name messed up, Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm sorry, I butchered it. I'm not going to try to correct myself because I'll just butcher it again. But in short, Conor McGregor got a, I believe it was 6-month suspension and a $25,000 fine, and Khabib ended up getting a 9-month suspension with a $500,000 fine. But the 9 months could be reduced down to a 6-month suspension if he feels like doing a non-bullying PSA video. So to kind of recap of how we got here, back at UFC 229 in October, Khabib was the winner against Conor McGregor, and Conor tapped out, and as soon as he tapped out, Khabib ran across the ring to the other side, was yelling, screaming at who turned out to be Dylan Adonis, who fights for Bellator, and doesn't even fight for UFC. One of Conor's cornermen, basically. Khabib jumped the fence, the cage, jumped into the crowd and started fighting with Adonis. While that was going on, Khabib's cousin and teammate, that's right, jumped into the cage and took a couple of shots at Conor McGregor. That went on for 5-10 minutes. The cops got involved, separated everybody. No injuries, no arrests. And that was all started because of a New York incident with the well-publicized Conor McGregor throwing the dolly at the bus, nearly wiping out a whole fight card with busting the windows of the bus and stuff like that. So that's the backstory of this whole suspension and everything. So on Tuesday, the suspensions and fines came out from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and after the commission gave out the punishments, Khabib's manager came out and said that Khabib is done fighting with Vegas, or done fighting in Vegas, because of all the politics that go on there, which kind of has a point. You know, look at the whole John Jones thing, which even the same day, during the punishments getting handed out, John Jones had his trial, if you want to call it that, about the incident from last month where he tested positive for a picogram of a steroid. And what came about that on Tuesday was Nevada said that he will basically be exempt as long as those levels stay the same and do not increase. Now, again, you know, to kind of back up Khabib here, eventually the steroids gotta leave your body, so he's gonna keep putting these steroids in there to just get that little bit. But that's one reason why I'm even being done with UFC. Now, where I disagree with Khabib is him saying, and his manager saying, why did Conor McGregor only get a what did I say it was, a $25,000? Let me see here. So Khabib got the $500,000. McGregor got $50,000. I'm sorry, 6 months and a $50,000 fine. He is eligible to fight April 6th. Well, for one, you're the one that jumped into the crowd, and I made the comment on Twitter about this when the news broke about these suspensions and the fines. You're the one that jumped into the crowd. You know you're not allowed to jump into the crowd. That's why they have all the athletic commission people standing to not let people into the cage. You're the one that started the ruckus. Yes, there was a lot of bad talk, a lot of bad things were said between both teams, you know, about religions, about families and all that stuff, but you're the one that jumped into a crowd after somebody who's not even with the company. So for you to say that you're done with Vegas because also they handed down punishments to his cousin and his teammate, who his teammate is signed with the UFC. His cousin is fighting for a different promotion. It's not one, but I forget what the other promotion was. A smaller promotion, but they both got a year suspension, the cousin and the teammate, and a $25,000 fine. And Khabib said he's not gonna fight until those suspensions are fulfilled. Okay, that's honorable. You want to back your teammates. He also said he's going to pay for their fines as well as his fines. And the managers and the quartermen were also levied punishments for both teams. But for you to, like, I'm sorry, this is kind of acting like a baby. Well, I'm not going there ever again. Yeah. I don't get my way there. I only want to fight in New York. Well, yeah, because New York won't hand the same punishments down that Nevada does. They may be a little leaner. And the other thing also that came out of this this trial or this conference was one of the main reasons McGregor got fined was for all the trash talk leading up to this fight, which I did state I believe the week or two after the fight that this came out about the suspensions, the purses being held, that I blamed UFC and the commission for letting this get to where it got because of all the stuff that was been said. Conor taking shots at Khabib's father and his religion and stuff like that. So the Nevada Athletic Commission came out and said that they will start fining and suspending fighters for disrespectful talk. Now, sorry, I'm still trying to get over a cold. Here's my problem with that, and I agree with it to a point. If you want to keep things like this from happening again with these melees, there has to be some type of, I don't want to say groundwork or a line, because let's be honest, these are pay-per-view fights, and you're not going to just sell it by saying, I could beat him on the ground, or I got better jiu-jitsu than him. There's got to be a little trash talking, but keep the trash talk to yourselves. Like, don't bring family into it. There should be limits. Don't bring religion into it. You want to say, hey, you look like a pug, or your ears look like Spock from Star Trek, then go ahead. As long as you keep it to each other. That's what makes some of these fights entertaining. Donald Cowboy Cerrone just fought last weekend, I believe it was, and won with his typical head kicks, and he called Conor out. And you know what? I hope the fight happens, because that is one pre-fight phone conferences, press conferences I will tune into every time, because they are both the biggest trash talkers out there. And even Cerrone said it. Conor, you gotta give him credit. He's very good at selling fights. Even look at the Mayweather fights, or the Mayweather fight. He sold that pretty well. As well did Mayweather. They both did a good job with that. But to start fighting these fighters for trash talking, that's wrong. That's getting involved too much. Now, sorry for getting off the little rant there, but that has been bothering me the past couple of days. But as far as the punishments overall, I'm okay with it. I think it's actually fair. A lot of the fans actually thought both Conor and Khabib was going to get suspended for 1 full year, and I didn't think Conor should have got the equal amount, because again, he was still in the ring and he got jumped. The teammate and the cousin, which at the time I thought actually they were both for USC. If I was Dana White, I would have released both of them, because they're not big names. They're not gonna get your 5 billion pay-per-views or whatever the big number is. So for the outcome that happened with these suspensions and fines, I'm actually okay with it. It just, I lost a little respect for Khabib to act that way. Now, just like the old saying, money talks. So does Dana White come up to him and say, hey, if you come to Vegas, I'll give you $10 million for the fight? He's stupid if he doesn't take it. No one's going to blame you for turning that type of thing down. But so that's the MMA talk there. Wasn't too excited for the UFC Fight Night this weekend, but like I said, other than UFC Fight Night, we have the Bare Knuckle Boxing 4, February 2nd, Saturday night at 9. They have prelims on Facebook Live, which I'm going to see if I could get those on my Fire Stick, or if I have to actually watch it on TV. I'm not very good with the Facebook Live stuff. So if you want to tune in to watch this, I usually go on the Fight TV app, or Fight.tv, I think it is. $30, $29.99. It's actually, well worth it. So the fight card that we have is Leonard Garcia versus Julian Lane. It's a 165-pound bout. Beck Rollins versus Cecilia Flores for the Police Gazette World Diamond Belt. Beck Rollins is the champion right now. That's a 125-pound bout. Then the one fight that I'm really looking forward to is Tony Lopez versus Jose Joey Beltran. It's a 175-pound bout. This one was on the BKB first event back in July, I think it was. It was summertime. And let me tell you, it was a bloody match, but they did not back down from each other. This kind of reminded me of, for the people that followed UFC or follow UFC, kind of reminded me of the Forrest Griffin and Stefan Bonner fight back in the day. I mean, they were tired, but man, they were still throwing left and right. They were connecting. That night, Beltran won, but and the respect they had for each other, like how I just talked about the trash talk, leading up to the fight, they were taking shots left and right at each other. But after the fight, taking pictures with each other, shaking hands, there was, you see pictures like that, and they're like, okay, they're only doing this to, make it look good or whatnot. But there was videos that came out of them standing back there talking. Both are former UFC fighters, so they were talking about the old UFC days, and even about where bare knuckle boxing may go in the future. I mean, they're older guys. They're not going to be around to see this get to ESPN or on FS1, but they definitely helped lay the groundwork for a pay-per-view. What another UFC fighter that you'll probably never see in UFC again because he's older, is on this card as well, is Chris Lytle against JC Lamas. Now this, on their website, bareknuckle.tv, they have this listed as a 265-pound bout. I think that's a typo, because I think Chris Lytle, when he fought with the UFC, he fought like 155, 170. So that might be a typo. Then also we have my other guy, Sam Shoemaker, the country boy, fighting to be announced. I'm assuming probably someone must have got hurt, because with this bout being 3 days out, you would think he would have his opponent lined up. Now, Sam Shoemaker went for the 185-pound bout last pay-per-view. He lost by split decision. Very good fight. And he has a lot of power. He could be a very exciting fighter. Hopefully, for my sake, he wins, because, like I said, he's definitely one of them I root for. Then we also have Joe Diesel Riggs versus Rudo Tovar. Another 185-pound bout. Joe Riggs used to fight in UFC. I'd say about 5-10 years ago he was fighting. Then we also have Tom Shoaif versus Diego Garjo. I'm gonna say that at 165. These two guys are newer, that I really don't recognize their names. So it's nice to see that they're getting some other names in here too. I mean, it's not, this is the fourth pay-per-view. The first pay-per-view is pretty much all UFC fighters or Bellator, some former boxing fighters. It's good to see some new fighters in there. We also have Eric Leander versus Alejandro Zolorzano. Wow, try to say that name 5 times fast. Also Travis Thompson versus Ivan Roca at 135-pound bout. That's the smallest one other than the ladies' fight. As far as picking fights, here, let me go back up to the top here. So, I've seen Leonard Garcia fight in UFC, and he loves to stand and bang, so that's one reason why I'm excited to see him here. Just because you don't have to worry about any takedowns and stuff like that. But he has been knocked out a lot. So, for this fight, Julian Lane versus Leonard Garcia, I'm going to go with Lane. I'm pretty sure the main event's going to be Bec Rawlings versus Cecilia Flores. I got to go with my girl. You know, to be the person, you have to beat the person. So, Bec Rawlings, I'm going to say by decision. Then we have Tony Lopez versus Jose Joey Peltron. I'm going to say Tony Lopez is going to get the win here and get the possibly a third fight between them. Which, again, like I said, if the second fight turns out to be anything like the first fight, just this fight alone will be worth the $30 for the pay-per-view. Then we have Chris Lytle versus JC Lamas. Chris Lytle had his first Bare Knuckle Boxing fight last pay-per-view and just destroyed the guy. Knocked him out. Bell rung. Threw about 5-10 punches and the guy was knocked out. So we're going with Chris Lytle. Then Sam Shoemaker versus opponent to be announced. I don't care who they put up against him. I'm going to go with Sam Shoemaker. I'd like to see him get a rematch against the champion. Then we also have Joe Riggs versus Rudo Tovar. Riggs is older, again, just like kind of like Leonard Garcia. So I'm going to go with Rudo Tovar. And again, I'm going to be live tweeting that event there. You could, like I said, you head over to the show's page on Twitter at ST Sports Podcast. That's where I'll be live tweeting it. And then there's something else going on this weekend. What is there going on this weekend? Oh, that's right. It's the Super Bowl. Yes, my lovely Eagles are not in it to defend it, but I will still be watching it, hoping the Rams beat the Patriots, and also so that the Rams could kind of throw the finger up at the Saints fans again, because they're just getting annoying with this whole the refs cost us game, let's file lawsuits, let's start a ruckus, we're boycotting the Super Bowl in New Orleans, blah blah blah. Listen, it happens to all teams. Get over it. It was 2 weeks ago. Get over it. But as far as this matchup could be a very good game, just like last year's Super Bowl. Right now, the Patriots are a 2.5-point favorite. Just like, last year the Eagles were the favorite. I forget what the spread was then, but you got the Rams defense going up against, as much as I don't like him, one of the best. I don't think he is the best. I still will go with Joe Montana, but he's definitely a number 2, a close one. I'll give him that. You're going up against Aaron Donald, Aqib Talib, and even Wade Phillips, for being around the league for how long, knows how to set that defense up and put them in the right position to make plays. Now, how do I think the Rams can beat the Patriots? Well, right off the bat, just like any quarterback, I don't care how great you are, if you hit a quarterback enough of times, it's going to get to them in their head. So that front line is going to be the key to containing Tom Brady. If you contain him with the long passes and you limit Gronkowski and the little screen passes that they do to Julian Edelman, the Rams will have a good shot at winning this thing. Now, I'm still not sold on Jared Goff. This is the first year he had a good year. Yes, and maybe, with the new head coach. Yes, Jeff Fisher was the old coach. That could have been the reason why. We'll see how next year goes. What do I think needs to happen for the Patriots to beat the Rams? Honestly, I think they have to control the ball. Keep that offense off the field, and all the jet sweeps they do, and don't let Todd Gurley get going. That's how I think the Patriots will be able to move on and lift the Lombardi trophy. Now, my question is, and I'll post this on Twitter for a poll. Of these two players I'm about to ask, who do you guys think is going to retire first? Maybe right after the game. Is Gronkowski going to retire, or is Tom Brady? Now, if you all remember, last year when the Super Bowl was over, Gronkowski right off the bat was talking about retiring. Came back. I think he was hurt a little bit, not real bad, but the wear and tear. He even said it takes the toll on you. Tom Brady, on the other hand, has said multiple times he wants to play well into his 40s. Came out this past week, said there's zero chance of him retiring, but if he wins the Super Bowl, why not go out on top? So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plans out. Hopefully, they don't allow Jason Witten up on the podium handing off the trophy. I don't know if you guys saw that with the Pro Bowl. Patrick Mahomes and the defense player from the Jets, Adams, won the MVPs, and Witten went to pick up the trophy, and the top part of the trophy went with them. The base sat there, came right apart. Now, the one thing I'm actually kind of excited for this game is Tony Romo is going to be calling it. It's on CBS at 6:30. At 6:30. Again, as much as I hated him as a Cowboy, because that's just in my blood to hate every Cowboys player, he is very entertaining to listen to. And the one thing I saw this past week when they were talking about him, he actually got 65% of his play calls right. Like how he says, well, the way this offense is set up with that receiver there, blah, blah, it's going to be a screen to the right side, and sure enough, it would be. Well, I was trying to look up some stuff for, to talk about the Super Bowl or whatever. Found a couple cool tidbits about the Rams and the Patriots with the matchup coming. So, if we all remember, this is a rematch of the 2001-2002 season of the Rams against the Patriots. And at that time, the Rams were the greatest show on turf, with Mike Martz and Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, just that juggernaut of an offense. And here comes a young Tom Brady, a head coach who was coached, the Browns, and they pull the upset. The Patriots pull the upset. since then, the one thing that stood out to me with this, some of these stats, since that Super Bowl, the Rams had 2 Super Bowl appearances over the prior 3 years, then just posted 1 winning season and won one playoff game over the next 15 years. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, they talk about the Super Bowl hangover and things like that, but man, 15 years, out of 15 years, you had 1 winning season and 1 playoff win. And now you're sitting with how, the old saying, the tables are flipped, with a young quarterback, a young coach, going up against a widely veteran and an old coach, just like the Rams were back in the day. So, and it's like I said, 17 years to the day. As far as my picks, well, my pick, I should say, since this would be the last pick of the NFL season. I know this playoff, I haven't done that well. So let's see if I give this one last good shot here. Alright, so between the Patriots and the Rams, like I said, I think the Rams' key is the defense. The Patriots' key to win is their offense to stay on the field. You gotta go Tom Brady. I'll be rooting against them, but you gotta think the Patriots are gonna pull this out. I don't think Goff is gonna be able to do enough. And with the young head coach going up against an old-time head coach who's seen everything, I'm gonna go with the Patriots 28. Rams just missing out 24. I think because the over-under is 56. I don't think it's going to go over. So hopefully, like I said, the Rams win and the Patriots don't. But I can't see the Rams defense just clamping Brady down. So I think that's going to be it for this week. Like I said, you could. I'll be live tweeting Bare Knuckle Boxing, and I'm not gonna live tweet, but I'm gonna tweet a little bit during the game. If there's a bad pass interference call or a nice catch or something. So if you want to follow me or the show when I'm live tweeting, you could go over to @ST Sports Podcast. That's where I'll be live tweeting Saturday night. Fights start at 9. Facebook Live has the prelims. I may try to get on a little bit earlier. But you could also follow me on Twitter, my personal one, at Jimbo ST Sports. So with that all being said, please be careful this weekend, guys. If you drink too much, don't be afraid to ask a friend for a ride or get an Uber. Enjoy yourselves. Let's go Rams.